Welcome, listener. If you've ever carried the weight of something unsaid, if you smiled when your heart was tightening, if someone you love has also been the source of your deepest ache, then this story is for the part of you that's been holding on for far too long. Go ahead and take a slow breath in, and as you exhale, imagine that breath traveling through your chest, your shoulders, your jaw, softening all the places that have learned to hold tension in the name of love. Now, let's begin. Her name was Mara, and for as long as she could remember, she had been the steady one, the one who remembered birthdays, sent thank you cards, and smoothed over family arguments before they got too loud. Her brother Ethan was different. He lived in chaos like it was oxygen, making promises he rarely kept, borrowing money he didn't repay, and yet somehow always being forgiven by everyone except Mara. For years, she told herself she wasn't angry, just disappointed. But resentment has a way of changing shape. It seeps quietly into the folds of ordinary days, into how one speaks, how one breathes, how one prays. Sometimes she would see his name light up her phone and feel her pulse quicken. Sometimes she'd wake from dreams where she was shouting words she never allowed herself to say. One night, after a particularly strained phone call, where Ethan had again asked for just one more favor, Mara sat by her window, the moon resting pale and round above the trees. And as her eyelids grew heavy, something strange began to happen. The sound of the clock softened. The air grew luminous, like time itself was taking a breath. She found herself standing on a quiet shoreline, barefoot, the sand cool beneath her feet. In the distance, she saw two figures, herself and Ethan, but younger, children again. He was laughing, holding a kite that wouldn't rise, and she was scolding him for doing it wrong. Then she heard a voice, not his, not hers, but something older and wiser, as if the ocean itself was speaking. You are still trying to fix the moment you lost control of. Myra looked at her younger self, at the little girl who believed love was something earned by holding everything together. She watched that version of herself reach for the string, snatched it from Ethan's hand, and said, "Let me do it." The kite rose briefly, then tore in the wind. And in that frozen second, she understood. She hadn't just resented his failures. She resented the part of herself that never allowed failure at all. The waves rolled in, gentle, rhythmic, like the breath of the world, each one whispering something as it broke at her feet. Not yours. Not yours. Not yours to carry. Tears came then, quiet, surprising. Not of pity, not of anger, but of release. She turned to see her adult brother standing nearby. Not perfect, not changed, just human. And in that strange, dreamlike way, she reached down and placed a hand on his shoulder. The resentment didn't disappear. It dissolved, like salt in warm water, still there, but no longer sharp. When Mara woke, The sun was touching the curtains. For a long time, she simply sat still, hands resting in her lap. She didn't rush to call him. She didn't rush to forgive. But when she finally did speak to him days later, her voice carried something new. Not softness exactly, but space. And that space was where healing began to breathe. Sometimes resentment is the body's way of saying, "You've held this too long." It isn't the enemy. It's the echo of boundaries never spoken, of pain never acknowledged, of loyalty stretched too thin. So now, as you sit here, you might notice a small exhale leaving your body. And perhaps, in that exhale, something heavy begins to ease. Because forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It means remembering that you no longer need to be the one who carries it. So now, as you're here, and as the story still lingers in the space between your eyes, you might notice a subtle shift inside, a sense that something in you is already softening, even if you don't know what that something is. Take a slow, steady breath in, and as you exhale, let that breath be like a quiet tide, pulling softly away from the shore. Again, inhaling gently, letting your ribs expand just enough to remind you that there's more space inside you than you thought. And exhaling even slower, as if you can breathe out a lifetime of words you were never allowed to say. And as you breathe, your body begins to remember what it's like to rest. The muscles across your forehead release, like clouds parting after a long storm. Your jaws unclenches. Your shoulders drift down, the way leaves drift towards still water. You don't have to force it. You don't have to understand it. Because the part of you that knows how to let go has been waiting patiently for this very moment. And as you listen, you might even notice how the sound of your own breathing feels like waves gently smoothing the edges of old stones. The stones you've carried in your chest, in your voice, in your silence. Each exhale a soft tide, washing over old stories, old expectations, old versions of you that had to be the strong one. And somewhere deep inside, perhaps in the quiet space behind your heart, there's a meeting place, a place where the body and memory and soul all come together to talk. You don't need to go there yet. Just know it exists. It's the place where forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means finally setting something down that was never yours to keep carrying. You can imagine it now, if you wish. A soft clearing in the forest at dusk. The air cool, scented with pine and soil and rain. In the center, a small pool of water, so still it mirrors the sky. And there, by the water's edge, you see yourself. Not the version who holds the resentment, but the one who knows how to release it. She's calm, centered, older than time. You can feel her presence like a pulse beneath the earth. If you'd like, you can imagine holding out your hands now. And into those hands, you begin to gather what's been heavy. The sharp words left unspoken. The quiet disappointments. The years of trying to make someone see what they cannot see. No need to name all of them. Just feel their weight, the invisible stones you've been carrying. And when you're ready, you may offer them to the water. Watch how they sink slowly beneath the surface, each one sending ripples outward. Ripples of release. Ripples of remembering that you are free to stop caring. You might even whisper in your own mind or softly out loud, I release what was never mine to keep. I return what belongs to another. I am lighter now. And as you do, notice how the air changes, how your breath deepens, how your body feels just a little more like home. And now, as the surface of the water grows still again, a light begins to shimmer beneath it, golden, gentle, rising. It's the energy that fills the space where the heaviness once lived. Let that light travel up through your feet, through your legs, through your spine, until it rests behind your heart. Let it remind you that release doesn't mean weakness. It means returning your strength to where it belongs. And as the light continues to expand, you might notice small images surfacing. People, moments, words. And each time they appear, the light simply softens them. Not erasing, but transforming. Not denying, but integrating. This is the alchemy of letting go. This is the medicine of breath and presence and surrender. And in a moment, you begin to return, not abruptly, but gently, carrying only what nourishes you. But before you do, you might want to take one last deep breath in, the kind that reaches every corner of you. And as you exhale, you may feel gratitude rising, like warmth spreading through your chest. Gratitude for the strength it took to hold on, and the courage it takes to release. And when you're ready, you can bring back your awareness back to the sound of your surroundings, the rhythm of your breathing, the present moment that awaits you. You can wiggle your fingers, move your shoulders, and when your eyes open again, they'll see the world a little differently, a little softer, a little freer, because now you've remembered something your soul always knew. You were never meant to carry it alone. And as the tide recedes, you realize it was never the ocean that held the weight. It was you. And now, you are the ocean, vast, open, and finally free. So here are the key meanings of the story. Number 1, resentment as unspoken grief. Resentment isn't just anger. It's grief that never got to cry. It's the body's way of saying, I've been carrying something too long. When we understand resentment as a form of buried grief, we stop trying to fight it and start listening to it. Number 2, inherited roles. Mara's role as the steady one shows how family dynamics can bind us to invisible contracts. Caretaker, peacemaker, fixer. These roles protect us early in life but later become cages that prevent us from resting, receiving, and setting boundaries. Number 3, the mirror of projection. The story reveals that what we resent in another often mirrors what we suppress in ourselves. Mara didn't only resent Ethan's irresponsibility. She resents the part of herself that never allowed softness or imperfections. Number 4, release versus reconciliation. True forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. The induction teaches that letting go is an energetic release, not a return of old dynamics, but a reclaiming of one's own peace. And number 5, healing as alchemy. When Myra releases the stones into the water, the resentment becomes composed of wisdom. It symbolizes the shift from carrying pain to transmuting it into understanding. Healing, then, is not forgetting, it's transforming. If this story found you at just the right time, you might let it rest in your body a while. And as you breathe, you may notice that the part of you that once clenched is learning how to open again. Go ahead and subscribe, because each story here isn't just something you listen to, it's something that listens back. So until next time, be well.